Good morning, Eddie. Some recognition for you and a couple of your players yesterday in the shortlists for the Premier League Monthly Awards. Obviously nothing finalised or announced yet, but it must be nice and a sign that things are going well.
Yeah, always good to be in the mix for these things because it means you've had a good month. So delighted with that. I think it has been was a good December for us. Now we need to try and make sure it's a good January as well.
There's obviously a lot of attention on everything Alexander Isak does, but for a player like Jacob Murphy, who's come into the team recently and delivered so much for you, how pleased are you for him that he has received that nomination for Player of the Month?
Yeah, I think Jacob's done really well. I think goals and assists is what every attacking player needs in their game. I think he's had a really strong group of games. The goals he scored, I think, have been really good finishes. He's capable of that. But he's always been a really creative outlet for us, and his crossing ability is second to none. So, yeah, really pleased for him.
Looking ahead to Tottenham this weekend, you do have an issue at right-sided centre-back with Fabian Schär suspended, Jamal Lascelles still recovering from injury. What about Sven Botman and the possibility of him coming back to the squad for this weekend?
Yeah, I always said with Sven, I think he'll be in and around the Christmas games. I think he's worked incredibly hard to get himself in a good condition. He's had, I think, 3 games, a lot of internal training as well, some match stimulus. So he's certainly in and around my thoughts. I'll have to make a decision on who I think best fits that position. But yeah, great to have Sven in and around and available again.
Would it be a lot to put a player back into such a big game or big couple of games with Arsenal on Tuesday as well after a lengthy period out with that type of serious injury?
No, because I think you go through a process with the type of injury that Sven's had. He's done an incredible amount of work. It's not like he's not had the training time with us. We've taken longer than maybe normally we would have done through respect for the injury that he had to try and make sure that he had the best chance of staying fit and when he comes back hitting the ground running, which is absolutely vital. So I've got a decision to make in terms of team selection, but if Sven's in the squad it's because he's fit and available.
Another option is Lloyd Kelly, who hasn't had much football this season. How tough a time has it been for him, because he was in the team at the beginning of the season, sometimes at left back, sometimes at centre back, but more recently his opportunities have been pretty limited. Yeah,
they have, but I think that's been down to the form of the lads that have played. I think Lloyd is a versatile player. He can play, as you say, a number of positions. I think, the form of Dan and Fabian at the heart of the defence has been really strong, especially of late. I think we've looked good defensively. So I think that's always a position that it's difficult for me to rotate too much. I prefer to keep a settled back four and not to chop and change. I think that your stability, your team is based on relationships. But Lloyd's training hard, he's training very well, and he's waiting for his chance.
Finally, what sort of match are you expecting from Spurs?
A difficult game. I think whenever you go to Tottenham, it's always a tough match. I think they're a very good creative team. I think their goal scoring record's very strong. They've got a very good way of playing, which is tough to play against. We expect a really difficult game. I don't think you're under any illusions when you're playing the games that we are, Manchester United, Tottenham, Arsenal. That this is a challenging period, but one that we started in great form, and now we're looking to carry that on.
Thanks, Reza. Keith?
Morning, Eddie. Given the way your side are playing right now and the reasons you just said to Reza there, the way Spurs play, they open up very expansive, is this actually quite a good game for your side right now, given the attacking form that your side are in, and you probably expect that sort of match against Spurs?
I don't know whether it'll be a good game for us or not until afterwards. I think it will be an exciting game. I think they always are against Tottenham. I think we've historically had some great matches against them. Both teams have had their moments in those games. One thing I think is sure, they're not going to change their attacking approach, and it's been very effective for them. In front of goal, you look at their numbers, very, very good. So I think for us, as always, when you go away from home, there's a challenge to nullify what they do and then impose ourselves onto them. And as you say, our attacking players are also in good form. We look like we've had a really good feel about the team. Mentally, I think we're in a good place. So I think we need to roll into the game and try and continue our good form.
It feels as though you've maybe gone up a notch in the last 2 wins against Aston Villa and Manchester United. Have you hit your straps yet, or do you feel there's still more improvement to come from your team?
I'd always say there's room for more. You have to believe that, and I do genuinely believe it anyway. I think there's more to come. I think we're playing, of course, a lot better. I think the cohesion in the team has been really strong. Players are playing with confidence and freedom and expressing themselves in a great way. But as the challenges go up, we're going to need to deliver more. And these next games that we have coming up will challenge us more, and we're going to have to respond in a positive way.
You spoke about Lloyd Kelly a moment ago. Would you be comfortable bringing in another central defender, a left-sided central defender, to play alongside Dan? Like it's weird in football. You don't often see 2 left-sided central defenders as partners. I don't know why you see it with right-sided quite often, but not as left. Is that something you'd be comfortable to do if he is the one that you opt for? Yeah,
you're absolutely right, and it's a bizarre way that falls. You very rarely, I mean, you have seen it, but you very rarely see 2 left-footers, but 2 right-footers are actually quite standard and normal. So, as I said earlier, I'm going to have to make the right call, what I believe is the right call for this game. Of course, there's going to be a change because Fabian, who's been really consistent for us, will be missing. But whoever I pick will have their unique skill set added to the team, and we have to try and look at it as a positive.
And a first game watching on for the New England manager Thomas Tuchel tomorrow. It's been widely reported, I guess, an early opportunity for your players. A few of them have been included in recent squads to stake a claim and impress.
Yeah, I'm sure the players will be aware of that, but I think for me it's irrelevant. It's us against Tottenham, and we've got to make sure that we turn up in the same place really that we were against Manchester United, and on the front foot, and try and deliver a good performance.
Thanks, Keith. Andy?
Morning, Eddie.
Morning.
Get the important question out of the way first. Excellent festive period for Newcastle, but did Jason Tindall gift you a Wham hoodie over Christmas or not?
No, he didn't.
No?
No, absolutely not, no. He's quite selfish like that with his clothes. He has his unique fashion sense, and it's a very strong one, but he doesn't share.
Sorry to hear it. We'll move on to the football anyway. You talk about the psychological impact on Monday night of that game and that win against Manchester United. What has been the psychological impact, and have you seen that this week on the training pitch?
I think you always see off the back of a win, you see just a slightly different mood, a bounce in the lad's step, laughter, humour. And that's great, and that's what we're obviously here for. But then you need the focus on the next game, and I've also seen that, and the focus has to come very quickly because you can't live off what you've done in this group of games, and we need to almost forget that, take the confidence, but forget the results, and make sure that we're going into this game with a clear vision of what we need to do, because this will be a tough test.
I saw a stat the other day that Newcastle had scored more in December than they had between August and December. So just on the front three and the attacking form of Newcastle, what has clicked for you?
I don't think necessarily, as I said many times to that question, I don't think there's one thing. I think it's a combination of things. Certainly those players I think now are going into the games just in a different frame of mind, which only comes from winning and feeling good. But I do think the combination of things, to score goals, you need the team to perform. You need the defenders to use the ball well. You need the defenders to attack well. You need to have a confidence in each other, because you need to also, from our perspective, get more. Well, we needed to get more bodies in the box. We needed to play with a little bit more freedom, I felt. So a huge knock-on effect, and then you're going into the next game in a different place mentally, and but as quickly as it can come, as quickly as it can go. So we need to not lose sight of that and continue to do the basics well.
Of course, heading into the January transfer window, 3 years ago, there were plenty of signings, of course, meant it was a busy old January, the likes of Bruno, Kieran. Is Dan Burn up there with one of your most important signings that you've made, bearing in mind his recent form, bearing in mind his versatility over the course of 3 years?
Yeah, without a doubt. I think Dan's been incredible. I think I've said before, I think he's been even better than I thought he would be. And I mean that as an absolute compliment, because we knew he was a talented player. We knew he would be a difference maker for us just with his stature and his size and everything that he brings in that respect. But then when you add the leadership skills that he's brought to the group, the consistency, not just of performance but of selection. He's been a tower of strength in the dressing room. He's always been a positive force. He's been absolutely fundamentally important in everything that we've done, and hopefully will continue to be.
Just finally talk about the defence. How else is Newcastle looking team news-wise ahead of Tottenham tomorrow?
I think we're okay. I don't see any major concerns from our last game. I'm just trying to think if I'm missing something, but no, I think we're okay.
Thanks, Eddie.
Thanks, Andy. Nisha?
Morning, Eddie.
Morning.
The results that you've had over the festive period, the manner in which the team have played, is this the best Newcastle United under you so far?
That's a tough question. I'm not sure. I don't know. I'd like to think it's getting close to being near our best. I think we've produced some very good performances previously, some games that everything's really clicked in that respect, and we've looked a good team attacking wise. But of course, I think the most pleasing thing about our recent run, together with the goals, has been how good we've been defensively, how well we've protected our goal. I think we've played with a lot of control in that respect, so I've been delighted. But yeah, the challenge is always to keep it going, and that's very difficult.
A lot of talk, rightly so, about Alexander Isak, and I think at the start of the season I asked, could he win the Golden Boot? He's in the mix, but how good could he be?
It's quite a consistent question I get on Alex, and I think he could be anything that he wants to be. I mean, he's got a little bit of everything in his game, which makes him so difficult to play against. I don't think there's one dimension of his game that he can't do to a very good level. I think his challenge is teams will look and try and find a way to stop him continually. That'll be a big focus, I'm sure, for the opposition's preparation, and his challenge is to continue to find a way to hurt the opposition and to evolve his game and continue to improve.
We've spoken about Miguel Almiron's future quite a bit in here. I think Charlotte FC in America have gone on record to say they want him. Can you just give us a bit of an update on his future?
Well, his future is very much here at the moment. I think Miggy has trained brilliantly this season. He's ready to play, and he's an important player. We were not blessed with a huge number of wide players, so anyone that we have here is vitally important, and Miggy's always proved for us how effective he is when he does play. So I'd say the same for any player until the day that they leave. Their future's here, and he needs to focus on the next game.
Similarly, we've talked about Martin Dubravka and his future, and he is playing in goal at the moment, so you've said you don't want to lose him. Can we just have a bit of an update on Nick Pope's injury?
Nick is starting goalkeeping work, so he's back on the grass, diving, etc. He's still not fully training with the group, so I think he's still got a little bit of time to go, but I think his knee's in a good place.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nisha. Damien, we'll go Lee Ryder and then Ian Mercer.
Hi, Eddie.
Hi.
Can you just go back to Sven? I think when his injury first emerged, you told us that he had the option of trying to manage it and play through it or have surgery, and he opted for the former, and it didn't work out for him. But what impact has that had psychologically, and have you had to talk to him about that?
No, I think there was a period where, of course, he was disappointed because he was desperate to stay fit. He had a lot to be fit for. He had the Euros coming up. It was a massive part of our season. So I think he was making every effort he could to stay fit and available for us in our pursuit of what we wanted to achieve that season. So it was a massive blow to lose him, and I know how disappointed he was. But I think once the operation was agreed by all parties, I think he then quickly got his head around that. A long period of work. Sven's a very dedicated professional. He's very focused on his career. He wants to do well. So he's gone through a huge amount of work to get himself in the position that he is now, and he looks good. As I said, he's been training for a period of time. Yes, he hasn't had the sort of the match day experience with the team yet, but he's done everything else but that, and I think he's physically in a very good place.
Just on a different topic, when you hear pundits saying Arsenal should go and offer Newcastle whatever they want for Alexander Isak, or Manchester City should go out and sign Bruno Guimaraes, do you find that disrespectful?
I think it comes with the territory. Now, to be honest, I think maybe in my very early days that would have maybe left more of I'd have had more of an impression on those comments. But I think when you're in the position that I'm in now, you sort of ignore it and it's irrelevant. There'll be so much talk and noise and rumour, and you can't control it all, and you can't even begin to try. So you just have to ignore it and just focus on the facts, I think.
Thank you. Lee?
Yeah, just to follow up on that, the fan base was actually irked quite a lot by that yesterday, because you had Paul Merson seemed to have this notion that Arsenal can come and just pick and choose who they want. I mean, what's your sort of response to that notion?
Well, yeah, first I'm hearing of it, Lee, so I'd probably need to see the comments. But our players are loved by us, wanted by us, and we've got massive games to come, and we need them to perform. So their focus can only be on what they're delivering in the here and now. We can only control what we can control. But I don't see that being an issue for us, especially in this window. We've got so many big games to come. We're very focused, and the players are very focused on having a great season, and that's all that concerns us at the moment.
You've already mentioned that other Premier League teams aren't going to do Newcastle a favour, so I guess the same service gets applied back to anybody.
We're certainly not looking to help anybody out, that's for sure. It's a hard enough league as it is to be consistently successful, but we certainly need our best players here.
Just on the Spurs game, recently Spurs manager saying, talking about entertainment and winning games 4-3. I mean, what's your idea of entertainment? Do you want to be hanging on in games and providing an entertaining match, or would you rather just get the job done?
No, I think I've always said I think we have a duty to try and entertain, but yeah, clarifying that is maybe not as simple. I want the supporters to come and genuinely look forward to seeing the team play, genuinely be excited about what could happen, and I think we've got some great players in the team that I think bring that quality, because you sort of, what's going to happen next? Are they capable of something truly inspiring? So I want that feeling for the supporters to watch the team. Of course, our job is to try and produce a winning team while doing that, and that's always the challenge. But yeah, I think it's important to me that everyone enjoys watching us play.
Can I just check one thing as well, very quickly? In terms of the style of player you might be looking to bring in, one of the players linked was Jack Grealish in the last 48 hours. Obviously, you're not going to mention him, but is it that type of player that you could bring in? Have you got the capacity to do that?
Financially?
Yeah.
I don't believe currently we have, but I think we're not really looking at the moment, or concentrating at the moment, on incomings. We're focusing on the massive games we have ahead of us. That's the only thing that I'm concentrating on.
Thanks, Lee. We'll go to Ian, then Craig and Chris.
Good morning, Eddie.
Morning.
Eddie, earlier you talking about the squad. There's a good feel to the place now, and you said we'll roll into the Spurs game looking to maintain your form. That's not the language a manager who wasn't supremely confident of his players right now would use.
Well, I think that's psychologically the best way for us to prepare the game, in my opinion. I think that doesn't mean we won't do our preparation. We'll do our preparation on Tottenham as thoroughly as we would for any other opponent. We'll go into the game, I think, fully prepared, as we always do. Our preparation doesn't change, but I think psychologically for the players, when you're in a good moment, you don't want to destabilise that. You just want them to roll into the next game to some extent in the same place and try and deliver a great performance.
On the goalkeeping front, Eddie, at Liverpool, when Alisson was out and Kelleher was playing very, very well, but Tony Slot made it clear that the number one was still Alisson. Is your number one still clear-cut?
I don't think I have to go into that conversation today. I think Martin has been excellent for us. In every respect of his game, I think he's looked supremely confident, which is never easy for someone who hasn't played for such a long period of time. His distribution of the ball's been high level. I think he's made important saves when we've needed him to. He's definitely contributed to our team's played. But Nick is a first-class goalkeeper with his unique skill set. And it's great to have two high-level goalkeepers at the same club.
And is the age a factor for you with goalkeepers in the same way it might be for outfield players?
In what sense?
Well, Martin Dubravka, they're both in their 30s, and Dubravka's 36.
Yeah, but what do you mean?
A lot of managers for outfield players, they'd be, once a player passes 30 or maybe 32, they'd be looking to replace them. But it's probably less obvious with keepers.
Yeah, I think it is. I think with the goalkeeper, I think you view them differently with age. Of course, their physical demand is much less. But of course, they still need their agility and their ability to make big saves. And that's probably their most important attribute. I think both our goalkeepers still have that.
Thanks, Ian. Craig?
Morning, Eddie. A lot has been made of the guys going forward and the goals which have been scored, but amidst all of that, you've kept 4 clean sheets on the bounce now. At the back, can you take us inside from a coach's perspective? What makes the difference there? Because if you rewind a year, when you went down to Liverpool, you conceded a Premier League record high number of shots on goal. Now you're not conceding any shots on goal. And is the key to defending almost not having to defend if that team is functioning? Just from a coach's perspective, can you take us inside that?
Thanks for bringing that stat up, Craig. That's a nice reminder of that night. I think the work and the processes we go through with our defensive structure don't really change that much. Of course, the delivery of that sometimes can be very different. You know, what you see on a weekend. I think a lot of that depends on your opponent and their qualities. I think in the last 4 games, we've defended our goal really well. I don't think we've conceded too many shots, as you say, or too many chances against, but that doesn't have any guarantee for the next game. And every game is so different. So I think the challenge for us is the mindset and the concentration we have to actually defend our goal and the willingness to defend our goal. Against Brentford, we didn't have it. I was really disappointed with our defensive output that day. It was not what I wanted to see from the team, but there's been a much better response. You saw against Manchester United, the chances they did have, we were throwing our bodies in the way and looked like we had a great desire to defend. And I think they're the most important qualities rather than necessarily the tactical viewpoint.
Like I said, right now you are marrying the two, going forward and going back over. When you were at Bournemouth, there was this idea that you were an attacking coach and the team didn't defend as well. And please take this question in the spirit it's meant, but were you a bad defensive coach, or was that a myth?
Well, I won't take that in any way other than the way you meant it, Craig. No, I think you always evolve as a coach. I don't think it's certainly I'm not the same. I don't have the same view on the game that I did, say, 5-6 years ago. But I think if I did, there'd be an issue, because I think you're always changing your focus, changing the things that you think are the most relevant to your team. And of course, that depends on who you're managing and who you're coaching. But there's always, believe it or not, we've always had a big focus on the defensive side of the game. And I think you have to, because I think it'd be negligent not to. But the delivery of that is all down to the players. Let's not kid ourselves. If you don't have good defenders and you don't have a good midfield structure to protect your defence, you're going to concede goals. If your goalkeeper's not playing well, you're going to concede goals. So the players have had a good response in the last 4 games, but our challenge is to keep that going.
Thank you. Go on to Chris, Jordan and then Aaron.
Morning, Eddie. You mentioned Martin's distribution. I mean, with his feet, he seems to have almost become like an additional outfield player. Can you just talk about that as a sort of dimension and what that sort of added to the team as well in your general play?
Yeah, Martin's always been very good with his feet. I think that's one of his biggest strengths, but I think the modern day goalkeeper now live in that world where they're viewed, their distribution's viewed with equal importance as their ability to keep the ball out the net. And I think Martin's played his part in that respect really well in terms of helping us have control, especially when you go to Old Trafford. That's a big part of the game that we tried to focus on, and I thought he did give us that ability to play and to build our attacks and to make it difficult for them to get to our centre-backs from the pressing viewpoint. So, Tottenham are a very good pressing team, a very good team off the ball, so that's going to be a different dimension for us again coming into this game.
And just on the midfield 3, Jamie Carragher said compares to any midfield in the Premier League, and I know that there was a lot of excitement when that three were first put together, and maybe it didn't quite fully gel in the way that it is now. Can you just talk about the blend between the three of them and why you think they are complementing each other so nicely at the moment?
Yeah, I do think they've got different strengths, which I think is really important. I don't think you want a carbon copy of the same three players. I don't think that's the way to get the right balance within that area of the team. I think they're all very good physically, which is hugely important in the midfield battle these days, their ability to run big distances. All three of them actually is very good. Sandro brings a bit more speed to the midfield, which I think, again, is a really key dynamic. And, of course, Joey's got his physical skills, which you need both in open play and set plays. So I think it's a good mix, and, of course, Bruno's got his obvious qualities. So. But I'd say the same, looking at Joe Willock's got the speed viewpoint, Sean Longstaff's got the intelligence, and brings a different dynamic when he plays. So I think, and of course Louis Miley brings his qualities. I think within the six midfielders we've got, I think we've got very different players, but they all bring something unique to the team.
Thanks, Chris. Jordan?
Hi, just going back to Martin, I appreciate this is quite hypothetical, but if Nick was to return in January, could Martin leave? Because there's a lot of noise from Saudi Arabia, there's talk of terms agreed, deal agreed with Newcastle. Could he leave? What is the situation with him? Has he almost played himself in a position where you can't let him go?
Yeah, I think the situation with Martin is we would not want him to leave. But of course you have to respect and understand the players' wishes as well in this. It's not as clear cut as everyone would necessarily have you think. Martin is out of contract as well in the summer, so that's a different dynamic to add into the mix. But it's all hypothetical. Martin is and has been fully committed. I think he's been outstanding. He's been a brilliant professional to work with. Got a lot of respect for him, and I think he's done really well when you consider that he didn't have a lot of football when coming into the team. So, fair play to him and how he's handled that situation.
Just going back to Keith's question earlier about the two left-footed centre-halves, it almost feels like an unwritten rule, weirdly, but you've got three left-footed centre-halves, and Sven, Dan, who's Lloyd as well, sorry. Could you play three left-footed centre-halves going forward?
Three.
Sorry, two.
The same. Well, he can play three. That'll be a new one. Craig might have more to say about that. I think with our two right side centre halves being out, Fabian suspension and Emil injured, it's going to be difficult to find a right-sided solution, I think.
Okay, Aaron, and then Kieran.
Morning, Eddie. Just another one on Dubravka. You've spoken there about his distribution and how good it is. In the modern game and in your teams, how important is that for goalkeepers to be able to sort of zip it about at the back like that?
Yeah, I'd say it's an important aspect of the game, but it's not the only criteria for a goalkeeper. You know, goalkeepers have to be multi-talented these days. I think when I was first coming into the game myself as a professional, the back pass rule had sort of just come in, and it totally revolutionised the role of a goalkeeper really in their skill set. But I think we have very good goalkeepers that can do a little bit of everything. Certainly that's been a feature of Martin's game in the last few games.
And just on injuries, Kieran Trippier came off the other night, looked like he was holding his hamstring. Is there any update on that?
Yeah, I think Kieran's okay. I think it's a bit of fatigue in the last two games. I don't think there's any muscle problem there.
Thanks, Aaron. Dominic?
You mentioned before with Martin Dubravka, but you've got several players out of contract in the summer. Obviously, the rules, they're free to agree deals with clubs, foreign clubs this month. Does that make the need to tie players down to new contracts particularly pressing at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, I think the ones that we would begin negotiations with, of course, we would want to get a quick solution with them. But it's all a delicate balance, as we've said many times, with the financial conditions that we're working towards. So let's see what happens with those.
It's a cliched term, but is the return of Sven Botman the closest thing you can expect to a new signing this month?
Yeah, it is a cliche, but I think it's a good one. I think it was the same with Sandro when he came back from his ban, where although he'd been training with us and he'd been with us for a season, it was like a new signing. And it actually gave the lads a big lift to have Sandy back available for selection. And Sven will be exactly the same. He's been a massive player for us, and a player that the lads all like. They like to play with. They've got total trust in him. So when he comes back into the group, it does give everyone a great feeling. So, yeah, I think that's a good way of looking at it.
Thanks, Tom. Gary? Try the one next to you.
That's better. Massive week coming up, and you're obviously fighting on three fronts. Likely a top four rival tomorrow, the two clubs. Is this the biggest week of the season so far for you?
Well, I think it is the biggest week of the season because it's the one in front of us. But it's not lost on us the importance of the next group of games, and we're looking forward to it.
Cool. And just found one from me. Obviously, it's a new year. Can 2025 be the one where Newcastle are in a position to deliver that long-awaited silverware to the supporters?
Well, we hope so. We don't shy away from the fact that that's our goal. That's what we want to do. That's what everyone connected with the club is desperate for. I know the players have got that in their sights, and that's what they're desperate for as well. So, but we know that you can't really focus on the end point of that. You have to focus on trying to get there. So for us, it's the final, and the 2 games against Arsenal will take on all the importance after the Tottenham game. But until then, it's all focused on the Premier League and trying to get another win.